From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios here in New Orleans, welcome into the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I am your host, Sean Fazan. Before we get started, be sure to like, share, rate, review wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe notification and the bell will go off and you will have a chance to know when we get all of our videos uploaded to YouTube as we continue rolling along with the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. It is Monday. It is a new week. And we have a new co-pilot riding shotgun with me now, Vasilios. I hope you're enjoying yourself in Baltimore or Washington, D.C. And I'm sure he had a rough weekend this weekend, but that's okay. I'll send him a care package later.
Yeah,
but
he probably isn't enjoying himself.
He's had a rough weekend. There's no doubt about that. But nonetheless, he is there. You are here. This is Andre Johnson. He's been with us at Fox 8 now for, a little over a year now, right?
Yeah, about a year and some change. We'll say a year and a half to keep it even.
Okay, and then he's one of our producers, photographers. Will be contributing a little bit of on-air work, so you'll see some of his work in the Saints off-season or in the NFL off-season of the next couple of months, so be sure to look out for that. But Andre, I wanted to give you a chance. This is a new platform that you've been on, so we've kind of established an audience here, so you're somewhat new to it. So I'll let you take it away. How long you been here? Where you from? What you do?
Well, I'm from the city. I'm from New Orleans, grew up on the West Bank, went to Thomas Jefferson High School.
Okay.
Very prestigious academic and
sure is.
athletic. Yeah, not as much as on the athletic side, but it's been fun, man. Just being here a year and a half, coming from Dayton, Ohio, spending some time in Baton Rouge, growing up here. I've seen a lot, done a lot. So now to be on, like you said, a podcast that you and Vasilios have done so much good work on, able to talk about the Saints, talk about, off-season, regular season, what we've got coming up, some Twitter shenanigans.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah. So it was great to have you. And also, you have I don't know if you want to keep this under wraps, but if you want to say it, go ahead. But you have a pretty famous uncle.
Yes.
And he has got a strong connection to this city. Go ahead and let the audience know who your uncle is.
St. Aug's finest, Southern University's finest, the San Antonio Spurs' finest, one, Avery Johnson.
How about that? The nephew of Avery Johnson, the great New Orleans product that's going on to do great things. What in the playing world, in the coaching world, everything. He's done it all. Playing,
coaching. Now he's doing a little bit of broadcasting too, posting inspirational videos on Instagram. The guy's got it all.
He's doing it all. I vividly remember him getting the game ball in the 2006 reopening of the Superdome game from Sean Payton. It was a wonderful sight to see. All right, now that we've got that established, Andre Johnson is the new co-host here with myself. Andre, why don't we get into the big picture today? What is our big picture topic today?
Well, Michael Thomas has been very active on the Twitter machine, Sean, so we have to get into it. I'm sure you saw the new thread of tweets that the Saints receiver was tweeting out. What were your first thoughts?
All right. I was coming up. I was thinking yesterday about a topic for our Monday morning podcast, or Monday afternoon, Monday evening podcast. We're trying to figure something out, and lo and behold, Twitter goes crazy, and it's none other than Michael Thomas once again.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in this marriage, please. This divorce needs to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
I know the majority of y'all out there are done with him. The majority of Saints fans are done with him. For the few of them that aren't done, and the Michael Thomas apologists out there, please, please, please don't even try to come in here and justify idiotic comments with dumb takes because you don't like DA or Derek Carr. Therefore, this behavior is okay. This is not cool. This is not cool. There's a bigger picture. When you do this, and Michael Thomas is doing this, you are on your way out. He knows that. And look, they can't get rid of him fast enough. It just has to happen. Do you have the tweets right in front of you? I'm not sure if you do.
I have a few direct quotes. He talked about hospital balls.
Just read a few of the tweets off.
Just talking about the hospital balls that he was given every week as if he wasn't open. That team wasn't even trying to get him the ball. Just a bunch of stuff. And it's almost incredible, Sean, how quickly things turned sour with Michael Thomas and the Saints and seemingly Derek Carr, because you remember, 9 months ago, we were sitting in the introductory press conference and Derek Carr said that the main guy who recruited him to the Saints was Michael Thomas.
In fact, I remember leaving that press conference thinking, okay, well, I thought Michael Thomas's days were done. Clearly, they were not. Well, fast forward 9 months, whatever. It's been 10 months. Clearly, he's on his way out the door. And for those that say, he's got the cachet, he's got pull, he can say this kind of stuff. No, he doesn't. Yeah. No, he doesn't. He's an average player, 48 games missed, 49 games missed over the last 4 seasons. In 2024, Andre, honestly, if you were ranking the NFL wide receivers around the NFL, would he be in the top 50?
No.
He wouldn't be in the top 50. And once again, this season, he didn't just get hurt. He got hurt. Then there was the initial diagnosis of it not being too bad. Yep. Then came the inevitable delay in the recovery. Then came the inevitable not going to return at all this season, which those of us that have been around the organization knew was going to happen all along. We've finished the season. We've seen it a lot. He's finished the season with 39 receptions, 448 yards, and a touchdown. And we can do the whole, well, if he plays the whole season, he would have had ... But you really can't do that with him because he's not and will never be available to play for a full season ever again. This guy is the walking embodiment of the living in the past feeling that has infected this organization in 2023. He was once awesome. Let's give him that. He was once awesome, but he hasn't been that way since 2019. And now all we have are memories of who he once was and the misguided hope, if you're still hoping this, I'm not sure why, but the misguided hope that maybe he can be as good as he once was again. While we wait, though, you get the worst of him. Make no mistake about this. He had Twitter fingers when he was good, but when he was good, everyone looked the other way.
Oh, it was fun. Can't guard Mike, the Twitter name. It's fun. When you're breaking records, you're winning games, you've got all these crazy numbers, you're a game changer. The rules are a little different.
You can look the other way and you just kind of find it funny. Now that he's not, I don't know about you, but I kind of get this old man yelling at the clouds kind of vibe towards what he's doing right now. And look, we've seen this before with him. This is like social media rant number 50, but this is probably of the last 5 or 6 or so. It just, with each one, it's like, okay, man, it's got to stop, or just please end this. This relationship is broken. It's done. Go on, enjoy your life. Saints, do what you have to do. He morphs into this Twitter guy where he goes off pretty much out of nowhere. I mean, like out of nowhere. And if he were in any other walk of life, I know if one of my own friends, if this was your own friend or buddy in this situation, and I saw that again, I'd be texting him on the side. Yo, dude, you all right? You sure? You good? You need anything? You good? You all right? I mean, like it's to the point now where this is just, it almost comes off as almost like a unhinged rant sometimes. It's just like, what is going on with this guy? So I just think, bottom line, in this marriage, this divorce needs to happen yesterday. Michael Thomas go this way, the Saints go this way, and let's just close the book on this on this weird chapter, post 2020 and beyond chapter of Michael Thomas and the Saints, because all we ever talk about either his Twitter feed or his injuries, nothing on the field, and he's just not good enough on the field to warrant all this stuff that you get off the field with Michael Thomas.
Exactly, because believe it or not, being on, I don't want to call the Saints a losing team, but missing out on the playoffs in the NFL is not Michael Thomas exclusive. Not being necessarily happy with how you're used in the offense is not a Michael Thomas exclusive. Not getting the numbers that you once put up, not a Michael Thomas exclusive. It happens all around the league, but you only see one guy lighting up his team, lighting up his quarterback multiple times on Twitter. And like you said, this relationship, it's seen the peaks and valleys. We had the honeymoon phase. Everybody was winning. The catches were happening. The highlights, it was fun. We were laughing. And now you're getting to the rocky part of the relationship, and I think it would be amicable for both sides to split. The grass is greener on the other side, and I think it can be for both of these sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the Saints, this is probably going to be his last year here anyway, with the way the contract is set up and the way that he didn't finish the season yet again. I just wonder if, I know they're not going to do this, but if there's so much of this public display of dogging the organization, dogging the quarterback, if you almost need a public display of, dude, get out of my house, out of my house, you're done, get out of here. But they would. That's not Mickey Loomis' style. It's not Dennis Allen's style. But look, like I said before, bottom line is this: divorce needs to happen. It needs to happen. Y'all got what y'all needed out of each other. Now go your separate ways. And look, I don't think it's any coincidence. last 6 or 7 games, the offense played better
Yeah.
when Michael Thomas was gone.
It's not like you're hurting at the receiver
Exactly. They
position.
got better. The younger guys gelled a little bit. It felt like Derek Carr was maybe playing a little looser. So, anyway, there's nothing much else to really add to it, just because we've seen this movie before.
Right.
But you've got to, in keeping with the idea of they got to do things differently. Well, the different thing now with Michael Thomas is to just say goodbye, because you've kind of put up with this for a long time. And there have been times throughout the relationship where it felt like, yeah, Michael Thomas has a point there. The Saints have a point there. But now, this ain't working. Just move on.
Can you see him going into another offense and still being a high-tier contributor? Because you've seen on Twitter he was talking a lot about the Chiefs, talking a lot about the Ravens. And we've seen guys, in their latter years go elsewhere and still manage to produce. Do you feel like there's a spot for him, especially with the reputation that he's kind of garnering now in the NFL?
Well, there's a couple things that go with that. A, it's got to be a low contract, so he's not cost effective. But if you get him cost effective and you get him on the field, he can be on his good behavior in a new spot with a new quarterback for maybe a season. But the problem is, as we mentioned, he's not ever playing 17 games in a season again. Right. So he can be somewhat productive in a small window. I don't think he'll ever be healthy enough to finish a whole season. And B, you got to understand that there's a time limit here, because inevitably something will go wrong, as it always does, because it's human nature, it's relationships, it's football. There's ups and downs. There's talk on the outside. There's talk on the inside. It's just the natural sort of formation of NFL. And I think he can go and be somewhat productive somewhere. I think he could probably play another 1 or 2 years, but I don't think he's ever going to be the game changer again. And more importantly, I don't think he's ever going to be healthy enough again. And then, like everybody does, not just in football but in life, okay, what are you giving me positive that helps me offset some of the negative that you bring to me? And I just think right now that negative has just swung like this and the positive going like this with the Saints. Somewhere else, maybe as a fresh start, maybe he does decent for a small period of time, but for the most part, this is a guy on the backside of his career.
Absolutely. And you look at guys similar, DeAndre Hopkins in Tennessee kind of helping a young quarterback in Will Levis. You look at Adam Thielen in Carolina helping a young quarterback in Bryce Young. These are veteran guys who were at one point at or near the top of the game, who are now kind of helping the next generation along. But I don't even know if I'd picture Michael Thomas.
Yeah, could Michael Thomas be one of those guys? I don't know. I mean, again, he would start off that way,
right?
But then inevitably, it can get muddy, because, like I said, football's a tough game, and especially if you're dealing with a young quarterback, they're gonna make mistakes, and sometimes mistakes include not throwing the ball to you, and then what happens in those scenarios? So, yeah, I'll be mildly curious to see where he ends up, but most importantly, I'm just ready to see this chapter close the book on the Michael Thomas experience here in New Orleans, because it's done. There is no, and the last thing the Saints should do is somehow try to figure out a way to make this work going forward. Be done with it. You cannot have that guy back in your organization after he's trashed you for like the 10th time. Like, come on. You have to move on from that. So, Michael Thomas, we'll see what happens there. But, man, what an interesting Sunday it was, because we were all watching an NFC and AFC championship game, and he starts tweeting away. So, Anyway, good luck with that, Mike T. All right, so that's that on Michael Thomas. What's our next topic?
Well, Sean, you mentioned a very interesting Sunday. It's going to be an interesting Wednesday for you as well. You and our photog, Jeff Hager, are heading out to the Senior Bowl. Yep. Obviously, a lot of young guys hoping to be part of the next generation of the NFL. What are you looking for?
Well, it's so interesting because it's a relatively small city, Mobile.
Right.
It's not an NFL city, and yet you have all these, I'm talking the major players in the NFL, team owners, GMs, coaching staffs, these prospects, big-time agents, big-time media, local media. We all converge on this little, relatively small town, small city of Mobile, and there's this chatter. That's why news breaks, because there's all these kind of meetings of the mind come together, and it's just like there's so much chatter going back and forth, and there's so many powerful people and so many things to be discussed and so many things happening in one little spot. You don't get that many opportunities to be face-to-face with that many people throughout the season. So big news always breaks with the Saints over Senior Bowl week. Last year was the Sean Payton trade. I was there. It was pretty mundane, kind of Tuesday practice we were at. The stories I was kind of working the file that day were kind of whatever. They're kind of blah. I think I was going to do something with one of the BYU quarterback or something like that. And all of a sudden, this breaks. We had to change everything. We were there, though. We were in position, so it was a good spot, certainly for us to be. A couple of years before that, when Sean Payton was suspended, he got reinstated while we were in Mobile.
Wow.
So he came up while we were still there. We had to stay an extra day. It was insane. It was certainly chaos. I interviewed Steve Spagnuolo that day when the news broke, and he was so excited about coaching Sean Payton finally, because he never had a chance to. Payton fired him a couple hours later at the Senior Bowl.
So the Senior Bowl is going to be
It's going to be something. So there's this column of news that's going to happen that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what's on the field, and then you get on to what's on the field. Like last year, Tajay Spears blew up at the Senior Bowl. A lot of Saints coaches were on the staff last year at the Senior Bowl, and they drafted 3 Senior Bowl guys. Sal DeVere, Hayner, and Isaiah Foskey was the other Senior Bowl guy. So there's that. And then there's all kind of like there's kind of the quarterback debate. There's what the Saints will be looking for. So it's a wild weekend, wild week in Mobile, Alabama. So I always look forward to it because you just never know what you're going to get. You never know what's going to happen out there, and it should be an interesting week out in Mobile.
Absolutely. And you mentioned what the Saints will be looking for. When you look at their last 7 first-round draft picks, 6 of them, big guys in the trenches, either the offensive or the defensive line. Of those 6 guys, 3 of them either aren't with the team anymore or haven't really gotten any relevant playing time. And it seems like even after those 6 picks, year in, year out, we still look and say one of the top priorities for the Saints is to get somebody on that defensive line. We've been trying to find somebody opposite Cam Jordan forever, somebody else on that offensive line. Do you feel like that's still kind of be the mindset this year, or does it shift at any point?
I think it's still the mindset. I think when you look at this roster, where they're at, what they need, I think it's still tackle would be 1, defensive end would be 2. Now, they've drafted some tackles in the past. Ramczyk worked out under Jeff Ireland.
Right.
Landon Young, he's been a reserve. That's fine for a 6th-round pick. I think you've got what you needed out of him. Rick Leonard was a guy that never made the roster, and then Trevor Penning is obviously a guy that may not even stay at tackle, who could end up being a bust. They've had, guard centers, McCoy, Ruiz, Will Clapp, Nick Saldiveri. 3 of those guys worked out. I mean, at least in terms of where you drafted and what you got out of them, at least you're getting something out of them. Where they've really swung and missed was defensive end. The only guy that they got right, they let him walk, and Trey Hendrickson, and they're Davenport, Turner, Foskey. We'll see what happens with him. So I do believe you're going to see them invest in the trenches yet again, because they have to. But I am thoroughly curious to see, and maybe this has something to do with the, almost every quarterback in leagues now is mobile.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to go away from the 6'6", 265-pound defensive end, which is their prototype that they do not move away from, and maybe get some more of this 6'3", 230-pound guy that's got a little more speed off the edge, and maybe not necessarily your traditional big, tall, set the edge kind of against the run defensive end, and maybe you need to get more speed on the field, because that has certainly killed you over the years. So that's certainly, and given the fact that they've missed on more than they've met, than they've hit at that position, I think that you got enough data now. It's time to take a hard look at where you're at that position in particular. So it should be an interesting week up ahead.
Right, especially, talking about positions, the quarterback position. I'm 28. I don't remember a time in my lifetime where the Saints have drafted a quarterback high. It seems like every quarterback that the Saints draft, it's kind of that 3rd, 4th round, mid-round guy, the Jake Hayner, the Ian Book.
That's it.
The guy before Ian Book who was in and out.
And then they got, and then they haven't drafted one in the first round since Archie Manning back in 1971. And this year, there's always that, because it's not the clearest need in the world, obviously, quarterback, but there is that debate and where they're picking. And these quarterbacks, it's a pretty star-studded cast. I mean, you got
Bo Nix,
Penix, Pratt, Sam Hartman, Spencer Rattler. So you're dealing with some guys with some star power here, and they always move up. all these quarterbacks, they always move up. And I know that one mock draft had Saints fans buzzing a little bit with Bo Nix mock to the Saints at 14 from Daniel Jeremiah. I don't know if that's going to happen. But point is, we're going to watch these guys up close, and I'm thoroughly curious to watch those guys practice. And I even saw one, Dan Brugler, say he wouldn't be surprised if Michael Pratt was selected before Michael Penix.
That would be a shocker,
How about
especially
that?
after last season.
How about that? So it's always a fun week, and then the draft boards are set. I'm not set.
Right.
They're constructed or they're written in pencil, and at the Senior Bowl week it gets shifted, and then it starts the whole process. So it's always a fun week up in Mobile.
So from Senior Bowl to Super Bowl, we know what we've got now. We've got the Chiefs, we've got the Niners, rematch from just a couple years ago. Who do you have in the big game?
Yeah, I'm not picking against Mahomes. It's just not going to happen. I think I'm pulling for the 49ers because I'm kind of done with the Chiefs. I'm just kind of done with the whole lot. I respect them, and I thought Travis Kelce was awesome, and I thought Mahomes was awesome, and I thought Spagnuolo was awesome, Andy Reid. I mean, they thoroughly outplayed the Ravens, and they deserved to win that game. I was so disappointed in the Ravens. It's almost like that, and Vasilios was at that game, our old co-host here.
Oh, yeah, in pain probably.
It was almost like there was too much energy in that stadium because it was just like one star after one star, one star player, one pass grade after another pass grade comes on the field, and it's like they couldn't handle it, and then they had 3 and out to start the game, and Lamar Jackson just, we got enough data now, him, and you put him in the category of like him, Josh Allen, those guys they just can't beat Mahomes. So anyway, all that to say, not surprised the Chiefs won. Can't pick against them in the Super Bowl. I am very curious how this game's going to go. I don't know about you, but everybody watching was probably a Lions fan. I have no idea what happened there. Like Dan Campbell, I am okay with one going for it on 4th down, not both. When you could have tied the game, you got to kick that field goal, man. You've got to kick that field goal.
It's baffling to me because before the half, they were at the 2-yard line.
And
they kicked
it right there.
If there's any time to be a little wild and say, hey, let's go for it, it's on the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
But you kick the field goal there. You've got 2 makeable field goals after that, and you opt to go for it.
Yeah.
In a game where obviously hindsight's 20/20, but you lost the game by 3.
Lost the game by 3. And look, again, 1 is forgivable, but like you have a chance to tie the game. Like tie the game. Tie the game. Steal some of that momentum back. Oh, man. Look. And he was pretty raw after the game, where he's like, "Yeah, we may not get back here." Like that. That is real. We're still waiting on the Saints' second Super Bowl appearance. We thought it was going to be more than just one. It is so hard to get back unless you're the Chiefs, obviously, or the Patriots with Brady. But
windows open and close
windows
fast.
They open it because guys age quicker than you think, or free agency comes into play, and just the natural luck or bounces is that they go your way some years, they don't go your way the other years. So I'm very interested in this Super Bowl matchup because you have GOAT status with Mahomes, who's cementing his legacy, and you have Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy, who is look, man, he had to make plays in that game, and he made plays to help his team win that game, and now they're in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. And when you talk about the game, a lot of the hype is going to be Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. There's going to be a little bit of Taylor Swift sprinkled in there. Mm-hmm. But the one guy who I don't want to get lost in this mix is the one who I believe can be the X factor in this game, and that's Isaiah Pacheco.
Oh, yeah.
With a little bit of Clyde Edwards-Helaire mixed in, because when you look at the teams who have been able to beat San Fran, I'm not counting the Week 18 game that Sam Darnold lost. For the most part, the teams who have been able to beat San Fran were able to run the ball effectively against them. And a small sample size in the postseason. They've only played 2 games, but Sean, in those 2 games, they've allowed about 160 rushing yards.
What happened to that
average.
front? What happened to the 49ers front? They used to be the best in football. Now, I don't know. Did they get old? I have no idea.
In the regular season, they're 3rd best at stopping the run, allowing less than 100. But in that postseason so far, they just have not been efficient. Guys have been running through them, and you've got Pacheco. A lot of people make the jokes about how he runs like he's trying to cause an earthquake with every step. But, if he can get going against San Fran, which opens things up for Mahomes and Kelce, who have both kind of picked their play up in the postseason, it's going to be a tough day for San Fran.
I don't 11 targets, 11 catches. How, if you're the Ravens, how do you not just double team him right off the line on every single play.
Right.
And I guarantee that's what the 49ers are going to do. They're going to take him. They are going to do whatever they can to make somebody else beat them other than 87. That's what they're going to have to do.
And they're going to have to do it early, too, because you saw against Baltimore, Patrick Mahomes came out and punched him in the face early.
Right away. I thought it was key to the whole game. I thought it was key to the whole game because for whatever reason in the playoffs, the Ravens, when they fall behind early, it's like it's over. It's like they can't overcome. What was it 14-7? It was like it was a 7-0 and a 14-7 deficit, and it was 17-7. It might as well have been 100-0 at that point. So, yeah, that was interesting championship weekend. So, anything else you want to add before we get all out of here?
Nothing else so far, man. I'm excited as we go ahead with this podcast and get back to doing this 3 times a week.
Yep.
Me and Sean, it's going to be great.
It's going to be fun. We'll be back on Wednesday. One last thing. Pay attention this week to the Saints offensive coordinator search. I know it feels like it's stalled out, but now other coaching staffs are starting to fill up their head coaching positions. When that happens, everything kind of gets reshuffled, but guys sort of connect to the places they're going to go. I know Gerard Johnson got the second interview. This week is going to be a big week in the Saints search. For now, with Andre Johnson, I am Sean Fazan. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.